hit the music.
The thoughts and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of the authors and guests of the podcast. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Soberless Thoughts.
That right there is Alex Gorley.
That right there is Michael Odenbeck.
And this is
Soberless Thoughts.
And tonight we are going to be talking about all those past lives that we had and all the new lives that we're going to be making. Not really. We're talking about reincarnation, and we have a special guest on with us, one of the co-hosts of Celestial Mystery Hour, the podcast, Michael Reimer. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be on here, and I can't wait to see what I screw up this time. I'm excited for it.
Oh, you're not screwing nothing up, man. This is the Screw Up Podcast. You're right in the sweet spot.
That's right, man.
I know just enough about the topic to get myself in trouble, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Welcome
to our lives.
We know just enough. We don't know any of enough, and so we just stay in trouble all the time. This should be the fucking just the Troublemakers podcast. It really should be.
Yeah, we're gonna rename it Troublemakers. I used to joke around that I swear we should call this podcast the Back Alley Podcast, because every time we would start on a topic, it would never end that way. Next thing you know, we're talking about like, I don't know, like if we talk about reincarnation, next thing you know, we're talking about how like a poker match in Uganda is controlling the weather in South Florida or something like that.
Because it's all related. That's how we get to that shit. That's why.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that point in there for me.
Yeah.
Polishing that off.
Exactly.
That was so sincere. It's all connected though. It's all connected.
You're right. It's all part of our programming in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Alex, so what special alcoholic beverage are we looking at tonight?
So tonight we are looking up something different, something that has been reincarnated, if you want to actually put it in those terms. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with, but there was a great beer by the brewery Country Boy. Cougar Bait is the name of it. I know, catchy title. It is an American blonde ale, clean and crisp. And as they put on their log line, Cougar Bait is here to help you with your catch and whatever you may be fishing for. It's definitely a blonde ale. It has a little bit of like that citrusy notes to it. Kind of like a Blue Moon kind of jazz, if you want to put it in like beer terms. It's 4.9% alcohol. Now, we're drinking the key lime pie version of it. So basically they made this great beer so you can go out cougar hunting, and they're like, let's step it up a notch. Let's go to the next level. Let's die and come back with something better. So they basically added lime and some other notes to it, which to me it's very man, I don't know how to describe it. It's very like summery. Has definitely that lime citrusy. Like it's one that's like if you drink it in the middle of the day on a hot summer's day, it's very light, very refreshing. Kind of reminds me of like Blue Moon and a Corona had a love child together is the best I can describe it. And this is actually 5% alcohol.
Oh, so it's tasty and it'll get you there.
Well, yeah.
Those are my dude. I think I've said this on the podcast before, but it's worth mentioning again. I always look at the alcohol content of a beer before I buy it. And if it's something ragtag like 4%, I'm not buying that shit.
Yeah.
I need something that's going to put a little extra punch in my gut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this podcast will do that to you. I got to be honest. I keep in my fridge stock like the 4% alcohol beers, or I use them as like chasers for everything else, whether I'm shooting whiskey or vodka, but I got to wash it down with something. Let's reach for one of those. And it's mainly because I'm a beer drinker. So it's like have to finish the night with a beer. I just can't finish it with a nice margarita or daiquiri or something like that. Like, no, I need to finish it with a beer.
I could finish my night with a White Russian.
Yeah, that would be the perfect thing to finish it off with.
or a big tall glass of mudslide. Dude, I still have one of those. I still have one can of that Christmas ale from back before Christmas that we drank. Those things that were fucking nasty. They tasted like potpourri.
Yeah.
Right. I still have one can of that left in my fridge, and I'm just saving it for somebody to come over to my house and be like, "Hey, you got a beer?" And I'm like,
"Save it for me."
I'm like, "Yeah, I got a beer. Here you go, buddy.
I'll drink it for you." Hey, man, those are 9% alcohol, by the way.
I know, which is why I haven't got rid of it yet.
Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword. You're like, it's so much alcohol, but I gotta taste all that.
Right.
I do like that beer, but it's got to be cold out. Now, if I come over to your house in the summer, I'm like, man, we're all hanging out on the back deck. You got a beer? That's going to be the last thing I want. Yeah, let me get some crude motor oil that tastes like a gingerbread man farted in it. Like,
yeah. Dude, but when you do come over this summer and hang out on my back deck, I will be giving you that beer.
I know, because I'm the one that made you buy that beer. I'm the reason we had that on the podcast. I know it's coming.
Like, here you go, buddy. You can go ahead and vomit off the side of the deck. All right, well, taste that and let's see what it tastes like.
All right. Yeah, it oh yeah. Definitely light. You get a little bit of that citrusy from the blonde ale, but man, that lime comes through like a champ.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You could
key
definitely
lime pie, you can taste that.
See, I guess it's key lime. I keep adding the pie to it, but I guess I'm like waiting for some of those notes, but it's just like key lime. Like the lime is there. Actually, I can even take you one step further down the reincarnation hole that me and the wife figured out. We were at an art festival in Lexington, Kentucky. At an art festival, they had nothing but like art and a bunch of brewery tents. Well, Country Boy was there, and they had their key lime, and they also had their coconut Hefeweizen. And I took the key lime and the Hefeweizen, and I poured them together, and I made something that was delicious.
What's a Hefeweizen?
Hefeweizen?
Yeah.
It's a German style beer. It's a little bit more wheat based. So kind of similar to like a blonde ale, but it's going to be not as crisp. Definitely a little bit more sweeter, a little bit more wheat always kind of gives it that citrus. Like that's actually probably there's wheat in their blonde ale. So that's like where you get that citrusy notes to it. But yeah, it's just like a German style beer for the most part.
Sounds delicious.
You ever have like I'm trying to think. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I was about to say, have you ever had a Hoegaarden?
Yes, actually.
Hold on. You're making me have to look this up.
We've had that on the podcast.
Oh yeah, we have. Man, I'm starting to like lose all the.
Don't worry, buddy. I got a list.
Thank God somebody does. So I was right. So Hefeweizen is a German style beer, arguably one of the most recognizable beer styles. German style Hefeweizen offers a striking beer experience with distinct wheat malt, unique yeast, and uncharacteristic appearance. Yeah, it's usually unfiltered.
So it's one of those ones where you pour it in the glass and then you look in the bottom of your glass and you see all kinds of shit floating in it.
Yeah, that's like the yeast and sediment.
Yep. Those are awesome. All right, buddy. Tonight, reincarnation. I'm gonna do a little experiment. How many Mike, we'll let you go first. How many past lives do you think you've had?
1,000.
At least 1,000.
If not more. At least. I'm going to go 1,000,000.
1,000,000.
Change my answer. At least 1,000,000. Yeah, we've been here a long time. The Earth's been around for a while. I'm going to go with 1,000,000. 1,000,000.
What do you think, Alex?
Man, I was going like 5. But Michael, I see what you're talking about. Like, if you think about it, you would have been a lonely little organism at one point that got eaten by something else, and then you come back, and now you're like a multi-celled organism, and so on and so on. I never thought of it that way until you said that, and I was like, okay. I was thinking human lives.
Is that?
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The weird thing about it is I was looking, and I always thought that you could come back as a grasshopper or like a bird or something like that. But these new age philosophers only think that you come back as another human being. So maybe it is only 5. I don't know.
I think it's infinite.
It could be.
I think it's infinite. Like, there has been, and because why does it even have to be Earth, right? Because I'm stuck on this. We're coming from another planet thing, man.
Oh, shit.
Right? So why does it have to be Earth-based organisms? It could be anything in the freaking multi-universe of everything that is.
That's against the rules.
No. Why? Where's the rules? I didn't see no list of rules wrote out in the heavens. I didn't see it. It's not wrote in the stars.
Hey, I just want you to know, Michael, this is a new record. We've been like 10 minutes in the podcast and we're already on aliens. Usually it takes a little bit longer, but
I've listened to a few episodes, and I know Mike really is into ancient aliens, so I'm excited about this.
No. I'm right there with him, and I get what you're saying, and I like where you're taking us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude, we have came from beings that we don't even know of. Here's something related. Okay, I was listening to this lady give a speech about how she was doing deep dive hypnotism into these people, right? And uncovering their past lives through hypnosis. And a lot of these people, she was finding out through hypnosis that their past lives weren't even human. So then, okay, so were they like an eagle, or were they, what were they? No, they were from entirely other universes. And when they died, the quote unquote God figure and like whatever like home heaven base that you go to when you die was like, hey, we need people on Earth. We need humans on Earth. Would you like to volunteer to be a human on Earth? And their soul was like, all right, I guess I'll take one for the team and I'll go be a human on Earth for a little while. And then sent them down. And then they became a human on Earth in 1962.
Now, all right. So I got a couple things for you. One, man, this is throwing me off, Mike and Michael. So Michael, when you were saying like 1,000,000 lives, that makes more sense now with his theory, just for the fact that like, our planet is only so many years old, but if you incorporate all the other ones that have been existing for a longer period of time, the millions of lives actually kind of makes sense. And two, I don't know why, but when I started thinking about reincarnation, you all know like the phone operator from like the 1940s, where it was like the lady with like the board and she had like all the wires.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, excuse me, operator. Oh, connecting. And they were just like doing this. Like, that's what I'm picturing, like heavenly figures, like trying to figure like, oh shit, Mike died as a rat. What do you want to be, man? All right. Oh, you want to be a human on Earth? Boom. Like, all right, Alex. What were you? Grasshopper, and you got stepped on. Okay, over here. We're gonna make you a dog, and then we'll make you a human, and then
Right. We've got a dog body being born over here. We need a soul to fill it.
Yeah, you're only gonna last 30 minutes. Sorry, and then we got to think about the next one after that. We needed some time.
Right.
It's weird though, because it seems like the ancient religions taught that reincarnation was only like you could be reincarnated as, like you said, like a grasshopper or something like that. But when I was looking into it, now I'll tell you the utmost authority on this. I was going to mention it. Hans Wilhelm. You ever heard of him?
No.
How does that name sound familiar?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't either until today. But he's got a lot of YouTube videos where he likes to draw. And he's the top hit on YouTube. So now, according to him, it seems like you only come back as a human, which is news to me because I thought you'd come back, ant, eagle, something like that. But he says you get a choice how you come back. So if you're somebody that needs to learn love or something like that, or somebody that needs to learn how to take care of somebody, you come back as like a cripple or something like that. Like he said, you get a choice in the matter. Now, I don't know who made him the expert, but he's got a lot of YouTube videos.
What if, so does that mean that life is all predestined? Like, okay, I need to come back as somebody who needs to learn how to love more, right? So does that mean I'm going to go into this body, and then that body and that person will have that dilemma already predestined for them, that they have to now learn to love more when they grow?
According to that, it seems like yes. And also he said that you test your body out. So when you come back, when the baby's kicking in the stomach, according to this guy, that's the soul testing out to see if it's going to be a right fit for it. So in that sense, it would be predetermined.
Yeah. Wow.
But what does he know? Yeah.
Well, it sounds like he knows a lot.
He did have a nice necklace. He had a really nice necklace that made him look like he knew what he was talking about.
I got a question for you. What are the souls preparing for? Like, why are we all trying to be this perfect sphere of souldom? Like you need to learn how to love more.
But
to
why?
do what? Yeah.
Right.
Like what's the next step? So then we can learn how to like kick ass and do something else, and then eventually once you like get all those components, like
it would be enlightenment. It would be to reach that final destination, according to the people that believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing's about karma, right? So if in one life that you were, say you robbed somebody or something like that, you're tied to that person. So all the good things and the bad things you've done. And he, the Bible talks about it. He called it reaping and sowing, just to use common vernacular.
Yeah.
But the thing about it that he was saying is you want your good karma. So that's why you get all these retries on life. So if you really screwed up your last life and need to learn more so you can reach that level of enlightenment, then that's why you come back for certain purposes.
Now, wouldn't it just be easier to be a vampire? Right? And then you live forever and you have this infinite amount of time to just learn all these different things. We talked about this. Yeah, we talked about this when we talked about vampires, like on Halloween 2 years ago. Like vampires live forever. You could learn how to love. You could learn how to hate. You could learn how to fight. You could learn every single different religion there is. You could learn how to hunt werewolves. You could learn literally everything that you need to learn because you have ample amount of time to do it in. Once you're a vampire and you've learned everything there is to learn, do you then just magically ascend?
If you can die. That's their one dilemma, man.
Well, they say vampirism's a curse too.
Yeah.
That's your damnation.
Well, because you're watching all your
Ooh.
loved ones die. I think that's the only reason why it's a curse.
Or maybe they failed so many times at reincarnation, their curse was to live forever and never get reincarnated.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. They're like, you were such a dick in that life. No.
That your curse is no longer reincarnated.
Yeah, sorry, you're not getting it. You're just going to be stuck here on Earth for a while.
Yeah. Maybe that's what ghosts are.
That could be. If you could live forever, though, would you? I think about that all the time because I don't want to live forever. I want to live, and even the reincarnation thing, even that sounds like slavery to me. You know, I want to go someplace else. One lifetime for me is enough here. I wouldn't want to live forever.
What do you think, Alex? Do you want to live forever?
No, when I was younger, when I was a young spry man, I used to think, yeah, live forever. But now I'm like, as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, not at all. That is way too much. I mean, maybe if I was 20 years old forever, but even that would get old. I think I've just thought about it too many times. Just like,
yeah, I like sleep too much.
yeah.
And to think about just going to sleep forever sounds refreshing.
By the way, side note, I know this is random. When you were talking about vampires, I couldn't help but start combining what the things you've already talked about so far. And all I could think about was like, if you're a vampire that lived forever, you can then do anything because you can learn. You got the time to learn it. And it made me think, what if the Ancient Aliens guy with the big hair is a vampire? And he was like, dude, there's aliens. I'm telling you, I've been researching this shit for like 1,000 years, and this is what I found.
It's like, I saw them. I watched them build. I watched them build the fucking pyramids, man. Yeah. They were there.
Yeah, I couldn't say it, but I was there.
And this hair was popular in the 1400s. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
Michael, how do you think the pyramids were built?
Oh, dude. Hey, now we're talking. Have you heard of Robert Schoch? Have you heard of that guy?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Schoch, man. 30,000 years at the very least. I think that there was an ancient civilization that was well more advanced on this earth. They looked at the weathering of the pyramids. And I'm sure you guys know this. I mean, but they looked at the weathering on the pyramids, and the last time there was enough rain to have that kind of weathering, because it's not sand weathering, right. It's water, according to these guys. And he said 30,000 years at the very least. But you hear all these stories, like in South America. I read Graham Hancock's book, Fingerprints of the Gods, and they talk about. You guys didn't know what you were in for.
No, we've read that book, and we loved it.
I was going to say, I don't think you know this, but you just made it. You've just become a recurring person on this podcast within the past 5-minute conversation. You've done that to yourself.
Well, I consider that my punishment, you know?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but so you guys know, but they talk about white people or somebody that looked, different from the South Americans that came and taught them medicine and taught them all this stuff. And, you guys can take it your way with the ancient alien theory. And that's, very valid. But I think that there's also something to be said for people that migrated or at least explored North America. And that we're talking, 15, 20, 30,000 years. And every time that they talk about ancient civilizations, they keep having to push it back. I think now they found, what is it? The one down in South America. I can't remember the name of it, but they dated that back to 15,000 years. Right. So it's just a matter of time before we get to, even further back than that.
And I don't believe for a second the whole all the people in this continent came over through like the landmass between Russia and Alaska, like during the Ice Age.
Well, they keep finding different artifacts and stuff that point to, like Vikings, and also the Knights Templar. They had that show on the History Channel that talked about, what was it, hidden history. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, check it out. It's called Hidden History, and they're finding stuff like in New Mexico, from people like from the Knights Templar kind of stuff. Like the dates are just way off. But me and Brandon talk about this on our podcast. But people, once you have and start teaching all these histories, you can't afford to be wrong. You know what I mean? So that's why they try to cover this stuff up, because it's like, what we've been teaching for the last 50 years. Well, that's wrong. And for whatever reason, they don't just say that. I'd respect them a lot more if they did, but the history that we were taught in the schools is definitely not correct.
Dude, one of the history teachers that I had in college literally wrote the textbook that we were going over. And like he would be adamant about shit. And when I would bring this kind of stuff up in the class, and I'm like, that's why you're so adamant about it, is because you wrote the goddamn book. And then you don't want to come back and say, oh, well, by the way, what I wrote's all bullshit.
Right. Yeah, they're discrediting themselves, so then you lose the scientific method and all that stuff, right? Like once you have something. I was listening to one of these guys talk about reincarnation today, and somebody asked a question to him, and he was like, well, I'm just confused about it. And it was a guru, an Indian guru. And he said, that's where I want to keep you, is confused. Because if you know the answers, then you stop learning, and that's this whole thing. It's just like we've come to a point, especially in America, where we have stopped learning, and now you're just getting the same stuff over and over again. And I think that people don't want to lose credibility because that's their livelihood.
And that shouldn't be how it is. That shouldn't be how it is, though, because you should want to continue to learn. You should want to continue to find out the truth and explore, and not just be so fucking like, okay, this is how it's going to be. And from now on, Einstein was right. Einstein was wrong, you son of a bitch. Anyways, back to reincarnation. Do you know about the Dalai Lama and how that's a constant reincarnation, right? I just read about that today.
I did not. So is the Dalai Lama supposed to be a reincarnated of the one before it?
Yeah, man. There's a whole science behind it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm eating a Girl Scout cookie right now.
Dude, we do not blame you for that.
It better be a Thin Mint.
Well, I can tell you this.
Is, and it's cold.
Oh. I was going to say, I actually did look this part up, that the major religions that hold the belief in reincarnations are Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and was it Sikhism? All of which arose in India.
Oh, so Kamala Harris should believe in reincarnation then.
Didn't you hear? She's the reincarnation of Julius Caesar. She said that.
What?
No, I just made that up.
Okay. When you said Julius, I got to be honest. For some reason, I thought you were about to say Julia Childs. When you started with Jew, I was like, she's a reincarnation of Julia Childs. So she's just going to slap butter on everything, huh? Okay.
She might not know much about governing, but she's a heck of a cook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring this up for this episode, reincarnation, is because of my personal history with my little brother and his stories when he was around the age 4 and 5 of when I was older, quote unquote. And he used to go into great detail about all these stories about when he was older, this happened. And when he was older, that happened. And then he told us one day, he said, when I was older, he asked my mom if She wanted to know how he died when he was older. And my mom was like, sure. How did you die when you were older? And he goes into this story about how he went to this ski resort in Colorado and basically was going down this hill that was too expert, like it was an expert black diamond hill or whatever, and he wasn't supposed to be on it, but he decided he thought he was good enough to go down it, so he goes down it, and he wasn't good enough, and he ends up going off the path and slams right into a tree, and it kills him.
Damn.
And he even named like the lodge that it was at and all this stuff.
What was the lodge?
Dude, if I could remember, I would have the shit like I'd be on the Discovery Channel, man.
I was getting ready to
say you got to Google that.
Yeah. So, well, my mom, she can't remember either, but she remembers at the time she looked it up, and it was an actual lodge and all this stuff back then. You know, I'm talking 25 years ago at least, and and it would just blew our minds that he had all these like memories, it seemed like, from when he was older, and then like that only lasted like a year or two, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and he never talked about that kind of stuff again. And we really think, because there was no way, like this was some ski lodge we'd never heard of, and not only that story, but there was multiple stories that he told where we would look at, or my mom would look that stuff up and be like all this shit is legit stuff. And he's like, we've never talked about any of this stuff. None of it has anything to do with Cincinnati, Ohio. Like, how would he know any of this? Like, he wasn't even in school at the time. So he's only around us, you know, and we don't talk about it. He's not watching any TV shows about it. At the time, it was the old TV where you got to turn the dial by hand, you know. I mean, Bob Ross ain't talking about this shit, you know?
Yeah.
So I firmly believe that my little brother was reincarnated as some skier who met his fate going down a hill a little too fast, slammed into a tree. Now it's time for one of you people to talk.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, I mean, you know, I don't know where to go after that, because like I've always thought about like what if I was reincarnated, and then I sit there and like try to remember it or try to think about it. What would have been like if I just relaxed my thoughts? Can I just reclaim something?
You think you could put yourself in a deep enough meditated state to recollect past lives?
Well, like I guess when I was like little, like maybe like try to think of something that is not familiar, but that's familiar kind of thing. Like try to like picture, like, you know how, I don't know if y'all ever heard this, like gist or whatever. Like they say, like, if you ever like you see people's faces in your dreams that you've never met before, they say it's the ghosts that are around you while you're sleeping, and that's what you're seeing.
Oh, I don't like that.
No. So
Incubus.
yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things. Like if you see someone you've never met before, their face, you know, I've read somewhere that it's the ghosts that are around you, and it's just your subconscious bringing it to light. Well, then I was sitting there like, well, why couldn't you like just try to imagine something that you've never been before, but it seems like you've been there before? Obviously it never worked. I'm not sitting there going like, yeah, I was, you know, I was in the 3rd Battalion in the, you know, Revolutionary War, and I got shot in the gut and they had to cut my leg off or something like that. But
well, there's entire military divisions devoted to exactly what you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah, man. Remote viewing. You know, Michael, do you know about remote viewing?
Yeah, the man who stare at God. What was the project name? What was that called? You know.
I don't remember.
Oh man, we're gonna have to look. But yeah, they got an entire section of the CIA dedicated to that.
Right.
And people don't want to believe that stuff, but it's true. They did it, you know?
Yeah. It's all
Go ahead.
It's all unclassified now.
Yeah. And like back in 1930s or 1940s, Hitler, have you ever heard of the Bell UFO?
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, the Bell. Yeah. All that stuff was, they were channeling all these extraterrestrials from another dimension. And that's how they got the blueprints for that UFO. So what I'm saying is the governments believe in this stuff, right?
Right.
Like, and I don't know. But Alex, I'd be curious to know, how did you feel about Mike's story? How do you feel about his brother? Because I got my thoughts, but I'm curious to know yours.
See, it's one of those. I'm always hesitant to dive in. Part of me wants to go like, how could you be so detailed about something? But at the same time, it's like, how imaginative is his brother?
Right.
Because don't get me wrong, I can spin a pretty good yarn myself,
Right.
and I could just start. But it's the references that will get me that I'm like, oh, it could be. Like, I've actually read stories about people that'll like. There was one about like, some kid about I remember him being a famous like baseball player from like back like way back in the day, like in the 30s or something, and he like recollected this whole person's life, and no one understands. They're like, he has no frame of reference for that. Like, there's no way he could have known any of this, and it's kind of like makes you go like, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Well, especially at such a young age, because if you're going from the idea that they came from, the Akashic record, or they came from some other galaxy, because that was one of the things that I learned looking at this stuff today, was that a lot of these modern gurus think that some of the stars that we see are not really stars, but they're places that store all of this karma. I know it sounds weird. This is new age stuff.
Yeah.
But you just think like, because myself, I used to be a devout Christian. Now I'm, a Christian. But so I have a inclination, to think like after you die, you go someplace else, but it's not necessarily this reincarnate cycle. But then you do hear stories like that, and it makes you think, especially if they're just coming back into a new body, like that would be the best time. And you don't have a bunch of things clouding your memory, and you're more apt to believe certain things, or you're more apt to have faith in it and remember if it was so fresh. So, I don't know. How can you discredit something like that though? Especially he was saying things that he never heard of, like ski lodges and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's just like you said, Alex, it just stops to make you think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like I said, it's the references. Like how could they know?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure
his brain is a blank canvas at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any of the memories clogging his. He hasn't done weed yet, like nothing is stopping him from letting all that come in. Nobody's told him that what he's saying is wrong. Nobody's taught him yet that you can't have a life from before.
Right.
So this is all what he knows at that point in time.
Well, at what age did he stop? You said he stopped remembering that stuff, like he forgot about it?
It was, he just stopped talking about it.
Okay.
And like nowadays, if you ask him about it, he doesn't remember any of it, but it freaked my parents out. So they just kind of quit. Like once he stopped talking about it, they just didn't bring it up anymore. So at what point he actually forgot it or just stopped remembering it, I don't know. But I know it was around the time that he started going to school that he stopped talking about it. So around 5 years old is when he quit talking about it. But he started around like when he started really speaking full sentences, around 3 or 4, he was talking about that stuff.
That's wild. Yeah, I can't believe like to not remember it. That's the wildest part. It's like you had it and then nothing.
So here's another story that has me wondering like about all this kind of stuff too, because so have you heard about the kid who his I might have even brought it up on the podcast now that I think about it, but the kid who was a crewman on the Titanic
No.
in a previous life. So he's like basically starts telling his parents that around the same age that my brother was, like, hey, I died on the Titanic. And they're like, you did what? Like,
Yeah.
And I remember watching the documentary about it, and his parents were like, we didn't own the Titanic. Like, he'd never seen it on TV. This just like came out of nowhere, right? He's just like, hey, by the way, I died on the Titanic. And so they're like, okay, well, they like got in touch with these scientists, and they actually put together a like 3D model of the Titanic and was like, okay, we're going to start you on the deck, and we're going to say, okay, and we just come up with like this random, like, okay, the captain's quarters. And you have to, on this 3D model, like basically he's like walking through the ship like a video game, right?
Yeah.
We want you to walk us through directly to where the captain's quarters would be. Okay. And like you and I could not sit down and get on this thing and just be like, all right, let's walk straight to where the captain's quarters was.
No way. Just bullshit our way through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kid walks directly without a single misturn to the captain's quarters. And it's like, boom, there it is. They're like, all right, take us to the engine room. And then boom, he walks from there straight directly without a single misturn directly to the engine room. And it's like they do it to like 5 different locations. And this 5-year-old kid knew exactly where to go and how to get there without a single misturn. And that was his claim, was like, I was like a crewman on the Titanic in a previous life.
Yeah.
And they couldn't prove him wrong.
Yeah. Like, what do you say to that? Like, no.
Yeah. What's your rebuttal?
Yeah. You're just confused, Tanner.
So then another story that arose when looking into this was these back in, I think it was the 20s or 30s, maybe earlier than that. I don't remember. There was these 2 girls, two sisters, and they were hit by a car. Like, this lady was suicidal. She had lost her child in a freak accident and decided she was going to take herself out. And in the process, she saw these 2 girls walking on the side of the street and was like, I'm going to take them out with me, and wrecks her car into these 2 girls and kills the girls and herself in the process.
Damn.
So the parents of the 2 girls, the dad has a dream that the 2 girls are going to be reincarnated back into his own family. Okay. Like a year later, the wife ends up pregnant and she has twin girls. The older girl and the girl who's born first of the twins has almost the exact same characteristics as she gets older as the older daughter. And the girl who was born second, the twin that was born second, has almost the exact same characteristics as the younger girl that was killed. All the way down to birthmarks, the way that they speak. The younger girl had a stutter, and the second twin had a little bit of a stutter, like, I mean, down to these very minute specific things. And then when they got to like pre-teenage, like the parents had like a thing between the mom and dad where they like, look, we're not even going to bring up the two girls that had passed away before. Like, we're not going to even talk about them to the twins. Like, let's just leave it and, you know, focus on the twins and love them and not, you know, be all obsessive about the girls who died. Right. So they like made it a point to not even talk about the two twins before, or not about the two older daughters before. So cut to like these two twin girls being like 11 or 12 years old, and they're sitting on the couch, and the one girl's laying on the other girl's, like laying her head on the other girl's lap, and the mom comes walking in the room and just overhears them talking about, like, basically discussing how they died, how they were like hit by this car, and like how it felt to be hit by this car, and then to like basically be put back in like they were discussing how they had an option, kind of like how you were talking about earlier, Michael, about how they had like an option to go back to the family that they had been in before, and they both agreed like, yeah, they wanted to go back to their mom and dad, and they go back as the twins that are born. And it's all like documented. Like the scientist guy was studying this shit, and he had the whole fucking thing documented.
Did you see that on the original Unsolved Mysteries in the 90s?
I don't know if it was on Unsolved Mysteries.
Sounds like something that would have been on Unsolved Mysteries, though. I've seen like a million episodes.
Yeah.
With Robert Stack. Got to be the original Robert Stack episodes.
Actually, I heard about that story on another podcast called I don't remember what it's called. I have to look it up.
I don't remember what's called podcast. Yep.
Yeah.
Great title.
Called the I don't know what it's called podcast. Called Supernatural. Supernatural with Ashley Flowers.
There you go. Shout out. You know, that's what I'm saying. You start hearing these stories, and it's just like, you know, it makes you question this stuff, because in the Western culture that we live in, it's not like people are out here talking about it like crazy. You have podcasts like us, but the mainstream, you know, either you're an atheist, either you're an agnostic, or you're a Christian. I mean, that's the mainstream stuff. So like me, I had to go and like research this stuff. But thankfully I had a proclivity where I'm interested in it, but it's like, there's this whole world that believes in reincarnation, and you start hearing these stories, and it's like, you know, maybe there's something to it. And I heard in the stuff that I was researching that it wasn't just the Eastern religions that believed this. The Greeks believed it. They had quotes from, I think, Plato, and a few others where they had mentioned that they were going to relive again. And then also a sect of Judaism believes in it, those that follow the Kabbalah. And so it's not just like an Eastern philosophy. It's a lot of different world religions and world viewpoints that, you know, that give credence to it. So, you know, I hear these stories, and it's like, as far-fetched as it sounds, you can't tell me everybody's making this stuff up. And that's the thing. Like, it makes you stop and really look at your life.
Dude, even Norse mythology, we just did an episode on that.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
You know, so I mean, really, we're the minority when it comes to in the world, right, when it comes to reincarnation, and thinking that it's not going to happen.
We're so cut off. You know, the number one language in the world, Chinese. And I would never, you know, there's so many European countries, but it's just the ones that we stay close to. You know, it's just the ones that we see. But we don't see all the other stuff that's going on. Like, the majority of the world believes in this thing. And so we've been cut off in some sense to it.
Is it Chinese or Mandarin?
It might be
Cantonese.
Mandarin, I don't know. What is it?
It's either Mandarin or Cantonese.
I know that my son's favorite song right now is called, he calls it the Dragon Song, but it's got a title that I can't even pronounce. And it's by a Mongolian band. And the reason why he calls it the Dragon Song is because when it pops up on Spotify, it's like a burning dragon in the background. But it's badass, and it sounds like a metal with like a hard beat to it. And you can't understand a single word because they're all like singing in Mandarin.
Are they doing that weird throat singing that
Yes.
Mongolian like
Yeah.
it's like this, like it's in the depths of your like jugular where they're like like
Yeah. The name of the band is the HU.
I remember I saw an Instagram post like that, and it was like some guy playing that, and he's like playing I don't know what instrument it is, but it like goes along with it, and he's doing it, and I just happened to put a comment like, I would love to see this. And I was like, I wonder if there's a Mongolian metal band, because I want to see that shit go off.
There
and
is.
it's somewhat
It's called the HU, man.
well, it's funny you said, because somebody posted, like, commented to me like, yeah, this band. I was like, oh, and they almost said it like, where the fuck have you been?
Right.
You're not into Mongolian metal? I just found out about it. Yeah, man.
I'll tell you what, at the end of this episode, I will have the Dragon Song play for all of our listeners.
I have one request. Whoever edits this, Mike or Alex.
I do.
When I introduce myself, I was thinking about this when you asked me to join the podcast. I want, if I can, I want to request "Talk Dirty to Me" by Poison. Can that be played when I say hello, after I say hello, or is that too much to ask?
No, I can do that.
You can do that?
Yeah,
I was listening to your St. Patrick's Day episode, and I liked the Irish song that you had in there. It made me start thinking. Thank you.
Talk Dirty to Me by Poison. Yeah.
That's just a fun song, you know?
Yeah. I'll do that. I'll do that while I'll play that while Alex is tasting his beer.
Yeah.
Because that's where we typically play the songs. One while we're tasting the beer, and then one at the end.
Yeah, for the most part.
I like it. It was a nice surprise in the St. Patrick's episode. It was good.
Yeah. Like, how else do you celebrate?
Yeah.
So what else did you learn about reincarnation with all the late night studying that you did, Michael?
Me? Oh, hey, did you know this? That you could have been the parents to your parents. Did you know that, Mike?
Holy shit. What if I was born before they died, though?
It probably happened that way. It probably happened. Look, there's a big difference, though. I got to preface it with this. There is a big difference in the modern people that believe in this stuff and then like where it came from, the ancients. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. Like the ancient people believe like that, you know, it was all about karma and stuff, but like modern mystics only believe that you come back as a human being. They don't talk about like grasshoppers and stuff like that. And they believe that you're chained. So like anything that you do, you're chained by karma. So like they talk about soulmates. And evidently there's this thing. Have you guys heard of the Akashic record?
No.
So the Akashic record is this, it's this thing. And have you heard of Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet? I'll talk about it a little bit.
The name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
You need to check this stuff out. So the Akashic record is this. Sorry, I'm feeling pretty good. The Akashic record is this thing that's above our atmosphere. And in Eastern cultures, all of life, and also like tribal cultures and indigenous cultures all believe that like the earth is not just like one plane of existence, that everything is connected. So the spiritual realm is connected to the earthly realm. So what we're seeing, like I said earlier, like with the stars and stuff like that stuff is also spiritual. And that's what we lose in Western culture a little bit, because we see everything, if there's a spiritual world, it's in a different plane of existence. Like when we talk about UFOs and stuff like that, like I would say that they're either time traveler, like they're us. That's kind of what I think. Like they're us. They're time travelers that way. But they see it all as, the spiritual is connected to the earthly. And so I said all that to say that karma and also like reincarnation and all that stuff, like we can see that stuff. So they believe like planets are like databases for, us to go when we die, like all this stuff. And so like when we have like our parents, we've been connected to them for a long period of time through karma. And so if you have parents that are like really, like mean or something like that, and you grow up mean, then you have this void in your heart that you're looking for. And so their whole thing is you need to find that missing link or that missing piece inside yourself, because that is drawing you to where you need to learn and where you need to grow and why you're here for this existence. And so if you had parents that grew up, if you grew up any certain way, your goal in life should be to change that and always be open to where you can learn different things, because you're here for that purpose. So like I said earlier, if you need to learn caring or need to learn love, like love is the highest plane of existence. If you need to learn those things, a lot of times you might come from parents that are not, the nicest people in the world. And so you have that void in yourself. And so you're here to learn that specific characteristic. So when you die, you can take that on with you to the next plane or the next level of life, the next reincarnation. And so I don't know what I was trying to say there, but hopefully it makes sense.
But so how can I be my parents' parents if they were still alive when I was born?
Because the people that are around you, you probably have had some relation with. So you could be your parents' parents, or they could be your parents. Like when you came back, the reason that they have your characteristics, you choose who you go into. And so if you have a proclivity to, angeriness or something like that, you're going to be a descendant of theirs because you've been tied to each other through karma. And so the people that you're around, you have a bond with. So if you do anything that's evil to someone, and the guy used the example of if you rob someone, you're tied to them by karma. So the bad things that you did, you're tied to them because you owe them something, and you're also tied to them until they forgive you. And so life, it's a really cool way to look at life, because it really showcases the Eastern philosophy of how everything is interconnected.
Right.
So no matter what I do, I'm influencing someone else and I'm tied to them. Now, myself, I don't necessarily agree with the whole concept of karma. Like I believe in the principle of it, but I don't think it's exactly how they say, but I can still learn something from it, because no matter what I do, whether I'm a recluse like I am right now, and, I just hang out, me and Kelly here, or if I am, the most vocal person in the world, you're still influencing somebody, because, maybe I'm not reaching out to the people that I should and putting love in their life or something like that. Or if I was more vocal, maybe I'm telling them the wrong thing. And so in some way, shape, or form, everybody's interconnected. And I think that that's what all of this points to, is that, no matter what I do, I'm still a part of the bigger picture. I'm still part of society, and I still have a part to play in all this stuff. And so I don't know. That's what all this taught me. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, man, I agree. And
No, it was good.
I completely agree. I think that we are all like, do you remember the movie where the guys go to this planet and all these the Avatar. Remember the movie Avatar?
Yeah.
And they're all the creatures on this planet are all connected in their life
Yeah.
system to the trees and all that, and it's all connected. I
Yeah.
think I really believe that. I feel like that's how it is here. We just don't know it. We just can't
We're
sense that
detached.
part. Yeah.
And you can see it. You can see it in everything that you do. And that's why, have you guys heard, like, my friend that I do the podcast with is a big gamer. I don't do many video games. I just got something. But when they talk about the people that compete in these gaming competitions, a lot of times Asians are the best ones that do it because they have a collective mindset. Whereas people in America, they have an individualistic mindset. And so they're out for themselves. And people from Eastern cultures, they value groups more than they value the individual. And I think that this philosophy or religion, whatever you want to call it, points to that because it's like everything influences somebody else. And that's what I'm trying to say with all this stuff. You can definitely see Eastern influences in everything, and you can see how it shaped their culture as well.
Right, man. Which is why they try and keep all their pyramids hidden from the Westerns.
Yeah, I do got a question for y'all. Since you brought up all this, and it'd be a good way to little something to think about. All right, so you were talking about how each one of us has something to work on to improve during our life and what we need to focus on. What do you think you all are working on in your lives?
Man, that's a good
I'm gonna let
question.
Mike go first.
Yeah. I just got real deep.
That's good. That's good though.
Yeah.
I think that if we are being reincarnated to work on something specific in our life, and this is my way of rephrasing your question so I have more time to think about my answer before I answer your question, is that basically what I'm saying is I think that if we're all going to be honestly, really, I don't know. No, if I came back to this life to work on something specifically, I would think that my entire life would be somehow centered around that thing and what it is that I'm trying to do. And like the core of my personality. And I think the core of my personal life and personality is one, rebellion, and two, being spontaneous. And those are the two things that like are just ingrained into my soul. Like I can't get away from it no matter what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking rebel and I'm spontaneous as fuck. Everything I want to do has to be, I can't make a plan to save my life. I just want to do it. And I think that's what it is. I think I was a planner and I was a guy who always went by what they said in the past. And I was like, you know what? I want to come back as somebody who's a fucking rebel and is super spontaneous and just does whatever the fuck he wants to do. And then I was born and now I'm stuck doing this forever.
Well, I guess so. A little food for thought, or if I could play devil's advocate. See, I would think it would be the opposite. If you were trying to learn a lesson, that means you don't know the lesson. So your life wouldn't revolve around said thing because you got to learn it.
That's a
so
good
it would be like whatever shortcomings you have right now, because whatever you are right now, that's where you were when you got here. Now it's time to learn the lesson. So it's either like, maybe like I need to learn patience, or I need to learn, like me, I need to learn how to like shut the hell up sometimes when I'm like in a group of people talking, because sometimes I'll just keep yapping my jaw off. Or I need to like take a second and be like, oh, okay, maybe I don't get mad because I bit my own lip and there was no reason for me to like kick a trash can across the room, like something like that, you know.
I don't think that that's the case, man. I mean, I like what you're saying there, but I don't think that's the case because there's no way I'm almost 40 years old. I'm not going to be, I can't change how I am now.
Yeah.
I am how I am. I know it. Like, and I'm at the point now where I used to try and change it. I used to try and, let's try and make a plan. Let's try and not be so like against the man, you know. I used to be like that. Like let's work in that direction. And then I was like, why? Like I thrive by doing that.
Yeah.
Like why try and get rid of that? That is who I am.
Yeah.
I want to be, and I'm happy being who I am. So God damn it, I'm going to be who I am.
Maybe that's the enlightenment of it all.
Yeah. Michael, it's your turn.
Yeah.
I think I answered that 100% correctly.
That was good. That was a good way to dodge the question. That was No, it's funny you asked that, Alex, because I was thinking about that today, though, right? Like I was thinking about this stuff. And you guys don't know this about me, but I went to ministry school. I was planning on becoming a preacher. And the problem was that I think too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they want you to believe everything that they teach you. But, you start looking at the principles of these ancient teachings. And when you see that it doesn't line up with what we're practicing today, you start to have questions that people can't answer. And so I said all that to say, I think I'm close to enlightenment.
Yeah.
I think that, let me say it this way. I think that if I wanted to, I could achieve it in this life, because you guys might have guessed already, I'm pretty crazy, and maybe that's what the gods or whatever are looking for. Because if push came to shove, I could be a monk legitimately, because I love this stuff. I love these conversations, and, I'm married and, I got a life and all this stuff, but I feel like I'm one bad thing happening away from just moving to the mountains and just becoming like a literally just starting an order out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
nice.
and so, yeah, I mean, not to toot my own horn and all this stuff, but it's just funny that you asked that, because I was asking myself the same thing reading this stuff. And I feel like, and my whole family was like this, and maybe they're all close to it too. But like, I've got two aunts that were hippies in the 60s, and they're very close to their spiritual life. And I feel like in especially Western culture in America today, we lose sight of all of this mysticism and all of this spirituality. And I feel like I think differently, and you guys do too, but I feel like I think differently than our culture thinks today. And that's why we're having this podcast. You know what I mean? That's why we talk about this stuff, because our minds are set towards something that's, not mainstream. And I feel like this is something that we've lost. So if we're trying to achieve this enlightenment, I don't know what it would take, but I do think, and maybe I should just go crazy and just go on a mountain somewhere and meditate all day. But I think that I could do it. I think that the fact that we're having this conversation means that we're one step closer to enlightenment.
Well, you were just saying earlier that all our family is connected, right?
It's connected, you're right.
So you've got your family who's all, maybe your family is that close to finding enlightenment. And you guys have all been working collectively together and reincarnating yourselves into the same family, collectively getting closer and closer to finally achieving that great goal of enlightenment.
Well, it's weird because my whole life, like I knew my family was different. My dad always talked about conspiracies and stuff when I was 12 years old, and I think that it takes the reason that they're interested in that is because they don't think like everybody else. The same with you guys. We're talking about this stuff right now because we see that there is something that's amiss in the way that the common person thinks. And I think that that's what it all points to. And I just think that even the fact that we're having this conversation, even the fact that we're talking about this and getting these kind of insights out of it means that we have a loftier idea of what life is than what your average person does. I'm not on TikTok. Like I'm not on, I don't like social media stuff. And there's people out there that are living just for that. And I think that there is a lot of space to be had, a lot of room to grow in pushing ourselves to a more spiritual mindset, whether that's just philosophical for you or whether that's a religion or something like that. But I think that is there's this idea of a ascended masters. Have you guys heard of that? It's like in the Akashic record, essentially, like people believe that you can go. Like Edgar Cayce talked about this, and he was a devout Christian. He's called the Sleeping Prophet. He was a devout Christian, but he would go into these trances. And he started out like he was mute for part of his life. And he would go into these trances and would talk to these people about what they needed to do for the ailments that they had. So people would come to him and say, like, my back hurts or something like that. And he would go into a trance and he would tell them what they need to do. A lot of it was homeopathic. A lot of it was, just common stuff, but they would do it and they would get healed. And I think because he was such a devout Christian, he didn't understand what he was doing. But this guy came to him and started asking him questions about like, new age philosophies. Like, I've been thinking about this, like, what is the purpose of life or that kind of thing. And he would go into a trance and somebody else would speak through him and say this stuff. And he didn't believe any of it because he was a Christian, but it had a name. And he even said, hey, here's one for you, ancient history kind of stuff. He said that there was buried tablets that are under, I think, the left foot of the Sphinx. And it hasn't been tested yet, but they looked on there and saw that there is a room. They used some kind of something and saw that there was a room underneath of it. So they think that there's hidden tablets under the Sphinx because of and he predicted all this stuff.
Right.
And so, I said that to say that even though I feel a certain way about all this stuff, I just think that because we think about this and because we're different than our culture, that we do have a better chance of enlightenment in this life. Like we can attain it. I keep rambling. Sorry, guys.
No, you're
you're
great.
good, man.
Alex, answer your own question.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You gave us a lot of information to take on. I was like, yeah, man, I've heard about the Sphinx underneath the foot, and yeah, the like sonar radar or whatever that they did all that. All right, but back to it, honestly, like I've got a little bit of your mindset, Mike, where I'm kind of like, maybe I learned it at an early age and that's who I've become today, or it's either an ongoing battle. So it's either like, maybe one of the things like my family instilled is family and kind of always being there. That's like one of like the cornerstones of like, I come from a large family. So I've got like, my dad had 8 brothers and sisters. And the one thing you don't do is turn your back on family because there's so many of us. I mean, you go to Thanksgiving, there's like 50 plus people easily. So it's either like maybe that was the lesson I was learned, or maybe that's the one I already knew. And the thing I need to learn is, I don't know, maybe not to drink so much. Or, just like my own shortcomings of something as simple as like, I need to express myself more because I might be a little bit more docile with maybe I guess feelings and whatnot like that. I was working on a stand-up bit about this, but I was working on a bit about how I miss being a caveman. Like pre-wife, I was so happy and content, and I was just like food, find a woman, and drink. Like that was it, right? That was they weren't even emotions, it was just actions. And like I didn't feel anything other than those things. And then after her, I'm watching Coco and I'm crying for no damn reason and I don't know why. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But like I never did this, or like it's just shit like that where I'm like, is this what getting old is, or am I just like tapped into something new? I can't wrap my head around these things. Or I had like a a fear that I was a sociopath and I'm just now breaking out of it or something.
I'm gonna play Sarah McLachlan behind your entire answer.
I mean, hey, I'm just being real. If that's what the universe is doing, it's me processing myself, self-actualization. Or it could just be I don't know how to say no and I keep drinking too much. I don't know.
All right. So at this point in time, right now,
yep.
Alex, would you say, true or false, you are reincarnated?
The way I feel inside, Mike, sorry. See, I've got to say no, just for the fact I don't have any kind of anything that says I was anywhere before then.
What about you, Michael? True or false? Were you reincarnated?
False. I believe that you go someplace else in your plane of existence, but I don't think that I have been anywhere else before.
I'm going to answer my own question, and I'm going to say just to be different from you two fucks, I'm going to say true. I'm going to say I was fucking reincarnated.
Where were you is the real question. Where do you feel that you were?
God only knows. I will find out when I die and I go back to the bus station in the sky and they have a little photo booth that I can climb into, and it says, view your past lives. And I put my hand on the thing and it shows me like video clips of all my past lives. There was a movie, an old movie from like the 80s or early 90s where Cocktail.
I don't know.
I am the biggest Tom Cruise fan.
Yeah, dude, that's a great movie, man.
And
people forget about that movie.
And that scene was not in the movie Cocktail. Trust me, I would know. But anyways, there's this movie where this guy dies and he goes, it's literally a bus station in the sky. And it's like you're either getting on a bus going to heaven or you're getting on a bus and going back and being reincarnated and doing something over again. And while you're waiting, and you're also being judged at this point in time, right? So like there's literal judges and they go over your entire life that you just lived and like all the fucked up shit that you did and all the great shit that you did. And they weigh it out and they say, okay, if you did more great shit than you did fucked up shit, you can get on the bus to heaven. But if you did more fucked up shit, then you got to go back and try over again, right? So in the process of all this, you have a lot of free time too while you're not getting judged because they're on a time clock, right? Because judges only work a certain amount of hours a day. So while you're in the downtime, there's literally like this booth that he goes into, and it's like you can view your past lives and like, or you can see how you died in all your past lives. And so he goes into it and he watches like in one life he was this dude in Africa and he was eaten by a lion, and like he died, like he was drowned in this other thing, and like he was an astronaut and like fell off of a space station or some shit. Like, I don't know. It was just crazy shit. Like all these different ways that he died. And he's like, holy crap. So anyways, all that being said, I'm going to say that I was reincarnated, that I've got an infinite amount of lives, like I said at the beginning of this episode. In the past, I probably have at least 1,000 more to go in the future before I get to where I'm supposed to be. And that's how I look at it.
There's a Bible passage that talks about this. It's in Daniel. And they're having this feast, and there's a hand, you might have heard of it, that comes and writes on the wall. Have you heard about this? Anybody? The hand? It was just a hand.
No. Just
what it writes,
a disembodied hand.
Literally a disembodied hand. They're having this feast. And meanwhile, I think it was the Chaldeans that were attacking. And it was someplace over in Iran right now. But what it writes on the wall is, many, many tickle you farce it, which means you've been weighed in the balance and have been found wanting. And even if you don't believe in reincarnation or karma, you still have to believe that what you do on this earth radiates in existence. So whether you do good or whether you do bad, in my opinion, even though I don't believe in reincarnation, I still think that the good that I do on this earth will come back to me. And the balance that I have in my life, hopefully it's good, and hopefully I get good back. But I think that no matter what you do, good or bad, that is going to come back to you. What you reap, you sow. So remember that. Many, many tickle you farce it, to everyone listening to this.
And we will remember that. And you can find a ton more information like that from Michael Reimer on Celestial Mystery Hour.
I don't usually get this drunk on my podcast.
If you want to go ahead and promote your podcast for a minute before we get out of here.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that we do have Celestial Mystery Hour podcast. It's available on every podcast platform. I really appreciate you guys letting me join your podcast. I'll be honest with you. I got drunk and I had a lot of fun.
That's what we like to hear.
Dude, you can come back on the podcast anytime, and we're going to talk about all the ancient shit and aliens and Bigfoot and all that kind of shit, because that's what we love to talk about.
Well, we need to have you guys on our podcast. We might do that now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, for sure.
I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it.
As long as you don't mind us drinking while we're on your podcast.
The more drinks, the better, as you've seen on your podcast.
All right, Alex. And then where can they find us at?
Oh, you can find us on all social medias. Let's start off with the Facebook, the oldest of all the social medias. Find us at at Soberless Thoughts. You can also find us on Instagram at Soberless Thoughts. I don't know why I keep wanting to say this. And then on our Twitter is the one I keep wanting to say, at Think Soberless. Jesus. Also, if you got any questions, comments, or if you just want to throw out an idea, whether it's good, bad, or in between, you can email us directly at soberlessthoughts@gmail.com. Don't forget to also share, and comment all things Soberless Thoughts on every platform that has podcasts. So all the iTunes, all the Spotify's, all the Google Plays, all that kind of stuff.
That's right. And then if you like what you hear here, you can also like what you hear over at the Celestial Mystery Hour with those guys as well. Also a great podcast. So when you're in the skillet and you like to... Dude, I drank 4 Kentucky bourbon barrel ales.
Come on, you can do it, man. You were almost there. Yeah. When you're in the skillet.
When you're in the skillet, stay cheesy, keep it greasy, and flip on out.
Hell yes.